Welcome to the first move tournament. In this, it's going to be primarily just the main members of the Corp that'll be in the tournament battling with frigates. A little rules for this: it is just an everybody fights everybody through the lines. You'll see a battleship there. That's just simply to reduce the amount of points when the kills happen. The first battle is Shadow Ace versus Tank. The names are shortened because it's easier for me to remember them. So we'll start off.
Warping squad.
So upon the starting off, we have Tass here in one of his alts warping the members to the battle site. From there, upon them landing, they will immediately engage, as you'll see. So upon initiation here, we have Shadow Ace in the Condor, and we have Tank in the Tristan. The initial appearances here looks like that Shadow Ace is going to be the primary winner. I mean, he's done the most damage, but now that the drones have been able to get on top of him, there goes his shields. He's taking light. There goes his armor, and boom goes the dynamite. He's dead. Alright, next we have Va, also known as Tass, versus Yo.
Warping Va and Yo to fighting area.
So now they've just warped in. You'll see that Va is going to be in the Executioner while Yo is in the Kestrel. A few technical issues there. And Va's not moving. I'm guessing that he probably had a shortcut key issue and that he forgot about the procedure of how to do the clicking, which happens. Eve has issues.
Oh, that was fast.
That fight goes to Yo. Next up, we have Zorn versus Tank. You'll see that Zoran's going to be in the Atron while Tank is back in his Tristan. There you go, work up. There's Zoran's Atron. He gets the good jump with the quick warp and quick lock. As you can see there, it looks like he's got a energy vamp or neutralizer on Tank, which is a pretty good option since they're both using energy weapons and you drain the tank that he's out. It's pretty close somewhat. If only Zorn could have actually gone a bit quicker around him. But those drones, the moment they're on you, you are gone. And there's the explosion.
Wow.
Next we have Krona versus Dez. Now you're going to see my UI because I am Krona, so just be warned with that.
Warping wing.
So here's the initial warp point between us. I am in the Tormentor, Dez is in the Tristan. Yes, we have multiple Tristans in this tournament. So upon landing, I was lucky enough to land first, which allowed me to actually get into a slightly better position for my guns. So there's lock on, I'm starting to fire, and I've also had my 2 drones engaged. Now, I was lucky in that Dez forgot to engage his drones on me, so I was able to actually do the most damage right away. However, once he did get his drones, we were almost evenly matched. As you can see there, we are just about neck and neck through the armor, and since we're both armor tanked, that's almost expected. And we've just started picking away at it. I mean, we're at each other's ranges, and we have almost this identical fits. So it all just came down to who got the better hits, really. And we both get into hull at almost the same time. This is where it actually changes, where he's finally gotten ahead of me. He has a little bit better DPS, I'm guessing.
You can do it, girl.
And unfortunately, my ship goes down right here. Just right before his goes down, 1 or 2 more volleys he would have been dead. And it was very close. That's a good similar fit right there. Next we have Dez versus Va, also known as Tass here. So Dez is going to be in this Tristan again, while
Yes.
Tass is going to be in his Executioner.
Warping.
Out of all the things you could say. Fighters, are you
So
ready?
in here we have a little bit
Warping.
humor from our Shadow Ace. Always funny.
Really? What if you're warping it?
So right away here, it looks like Tass is again having issues with his hotkey in actually engaging his orbit. However, even though he's not actually moving or doing anything like that, he is still able to do quite a bit of damage. Again, it's shield against an armor tank
Yeah,
ship.
shield damage.
So, but it's something. So now Vaz finally got his orbital pass set up.
Dez forgot to deploy his drones.
And unfortunately,
yeah.
now that the drones have gotten on him again, those drones are devastating.
Oh, it's neck and neck
The moment
again.
it updates, and
No.
there's the
No,
damage.
it's not.
And Tass is now gone.
Why did you say that in
So
updates?
that's what happens with drones. Alright, next up we have Zorn versus Dez. Now the reason why we have Dez here in quite a few lines is that he was a little late to the tournament. So
Get him,
there's
Zeke,
the
get
warp.
him.
You're going to see Zorn's going to be in his Atron, and Dez is once again in that Tristan.
Get him!
So there's the drone deployment. Now Zoran's finally been able to engage. It was a little slow there, but it happens when in similar timed warps. This time, thankfully, Dez did not forget to deploy his drones. However, even though Zoran is in an Atron, which is relatively offensively weak, he's been able to actually do some decent damage. This is because of the fact of speed, the ability to speed tank. And this is a prime example of what it looks like when somebody's speed tanking you. He doesn't have armor plating on it or anything like that, it's just pure speed. However, drones tend to overcome speed tanking, and it tends to blow up. But it happens, but it's a good example of a speed tank. So there it is.
Dez
Good
came
fight.
to play.
Alright, next we have Shadow versus Yo. Shadow will be in his Condor, while Yo will be in his Kestrel. So there goes the warp. There is Shadow's Condor, which has a unique fit in it in that he's using sensor dampeners. And his technique is to try to stay just outside of range of the targeting of the enemy ship after the sensor dampening. Now, unfortunately, this is the biggest issue when it comes to missiles versus missiles, in that it takes a long time for any sort of significant amount
Yeah,
of
that's
damage
pretty much what I
to
figured was
be
going to
done.
happen.
Now, the reason why Shadow isn't actually taking any damage here
Can you
is
slingshot and get out?
because Yo is using rockets,
That's what
which means that he has to be within about 5,000 meters of his target for them to actually hit, while Yo is using light missiles, which means he has a better range. So right here, what Yo is trying to do is that he's trying to slingshot his way out of Shadow's sensor dampener range, and then quickly get it within range to lock on, and then hopefully
Well,
actually get some
apparently
rocket
my sensor
damage.
disruption idea is not working
But
too well.
because
It's
Shadow
still having me
has
locked.
the better speed advantage, it's not really going to happen.
What's your max lock range?
Now, what happened here is
Really
that
high on a Kestrel.
Yo's technique of trying to slingshot has actually
I'm making
caused
sure it's
them
actually
to get
working in
outside
general.
of the look range, which is 100 kilometers.
You guys actually moved so far.
So
out,
that's
I have
why
to
you
move
don't
so
really
I
get to
can
see
keep
anything
filming.
right now. So
The
at this
maximum
point, this is what I
targeting
mean.
range
It takes a while
without
for the
skills is
missiles
50.
damage to cause significant,
So after
numbers.
skills, it'll be over 60.
But once it actually does start showing, it just slowly picks away. So now it's in the hole, and there it goes. Yeah. Next up, we have Shadow versus Zoran. Shadow will be in his Condor, while Zoran will be in his Atron.
It'll be determined very quickly who's going to win. Let's just put it that way.
There they go, warping in at the same time. Now, the whole trick that Zorn has to make sure to do is that he has to get on top of Shadow as quick as
You're not
possible.
moving.
Unfortunately, Zorn has issues with his hotkeys, which meant that he wasn't moving quick enough. Which, in that whole moment, allowed Shadow to get to his ranges, which meant that
he won't let me
Zorn
lock him.
couldn't really do anything.
Why not?
Now, however,
He
this
ain't
battle
dead,
is
so I
actually
can't
gives you a
lock him.
nice good view of the explosion
This is
radius, and that a small ship
is
can
sad.
actually get outside of the ranges of the explosion because it's doing very little damage.
I mean, I'm
Zoran
doing
has
everything
almost
I
no
can,
tank
but
on it. It's
when you
all
can't
designed
lock
for
him, man,
speed.
you can't lock him.
And
No, I hear
he's
ya.
in armor,
I mean,
and
I'm
he's taking
blowing
very little
bullets
damage
out
from
the
the
window
missiles.
at him.
Slingshot out. Try more, boy.
God,
Yeah,
you
don't
warp
give him
away,
the
you warp away, you just as
Now, the
off
conversation that you might be hearing
you
would
lose
be
just as bad.
about the whole
No,
warp
he doesn't
and
get a
point
point.
system. It's just confusing.
you
It's the
No,
reason why nobody
he
actually
faulted
was
according
warped
to what
away,
the rules
either
said.
because they
You
were
warp
scrammed or
out,
jammed
No.
out,
If you
but
warp
also
out,
simply
the
because
person's no
it's
kills are
thoughtful
gained.
that
It's
you're
no
like a
skill.
tie.
in a battle, you get a
That's
point.
all
If you
that
warp
matters
out, you
is no skill,
lose.
Just like when you're out there in
Yeah,
space.
but he's already got me
So that's why
stranded,
nobody's
I
really
can't
warped
do
out, and
anything.
that's the whole conversation about warping out in points. Now, even here, definitely no
External
tank in
factors
Hull,
are preventing you from
taking very
warping.
little damage from the missiles because he's outrunning them.
No.
There's even points where he's outside the ranges of the missiles themselves.
I mean, I'm literally, guys. That's it. I'm doing all this pilot knows to do, and now he's playing with me like a little rabbit.
But unfortunately, he can't keep that
You're
high
outrunning his
speed up
missiles.
forever, and
Oh.
gets blown up,
Oh, yeah.
which is sad.
Oh.
But it's a good fight. Alright, next up, that is Krona versus Va, or Tas. Once again, you'll see my UI because I'm Krona.
Warping.
So there's the warp. Now, Tas did warp in front of me because he's in an executioner, which is designed to be very quick and fast. But, however, I am able to still get the quick lock in deployment because he once again had issues with his
Trixie.
hotkey. Now, however, once he did actually do it, he made a
Oops,
mistake in
got
that
the
he moved in a straight
stop.
line behind me, which allowed my lasers
That's
to do
understandable.
large amounts of damage. It was very quick, but it was still a good fight.
Oof.
Wow.
Next up, we have Krona versus Shadow. Once again, you'll see my UI because I'm Krona. So here's the warp.
Warping.
Now, my initial hope here was that upon landing, I would be able to get a quick enough lock to possibly slow him down and get within range of my lasers to do some damage, but that instantly disappeared when that happened. I had gotten one shot off by the time he got the sensor dampeners on me. And I also had issues with my hotkeys, which meant I wasn't moving as well. Stressful times can cause issues. Thankfully, Shadow made a problem in that he allowed me to get too close enough to do some damage. I didn't do as much damage as I was originally hoping because I was still fairly far away and he was moving fast enough to keep in front of the tracking of my lasers. As well, there's a secondary issue that I did, and that I forgot to deploy my drones. They wouldn't have done much, but they would have at least done something. And we just sort of play this battle of I'm trying to get within range of him, he's trying to keep me at range. Unfortunately, he is the one that has the speed control, which meant that he can determine how far away I am from him. So then he can keep the ranges while I'm having issues trying to get close to him. But nonetheless, it's still a very good fight, and things like that happen. Stress, when you go into a battle, things happen. But nonetheless, it's fun, and it was still a very good fight.
I was wondering where those drones were.
I forgot him, that's what happened. Next up, we have Zorn versus Va, or Tassir. You'll have Zoran in the Atron, and Va in the Executioner. So there's the warp. Now, right away, initially, it looks like Va has finally fixed his hotkey issues, and that he was able to get a quick initial, attack on Zorn. Fortunately,
That was a
Zorn had
straight up
hotkey issues
shootout.
right away, so he stayed stationary for a while, which allowed Va's lasers to do
So
a
this tournament's
substantial
been
amount of
missing?
damage. Nonetheless, they're
But it's
somewhat
not your
evenly
normal
matched when it
ships you
comes
would
to
normally
it.
expect to see,
Va
like,
has a
Punisher
little
and,
higher
Incursion's going at
DPS,
it.
is what it appears
Yeah.
to be.
Executioner.
As well as it appears here is that what you can hear from Zoran
waiting to
is
see if that
it sounds
nuke
like
hit.
his blasters are having issue actually hitting, and you can look at that and watch that Va's armor has hardly gone down at all. But the animation's there, but it happens. And it just happens when it comes to fast targets.
Come on.
So,
Hit,
no,
hit,
but
hit,
otherwise it was a
hit.
very good fight between
Hit.
two
Oh.
very speedy ships.
Overheated.
Alright, next up we have Yo versus Dez. Yo's in his Kestrel, while Dez is in his Tristan. So there's the Warpin. Now in this battle, Dez has somewhat of a slight advantage over Yo, in that he actually has a slight range advantage with his drones.
Damn, those rockets are
Right there, this
pounding.
is me having to add some stuff around because of people joining the fleet and stuff. Now this
No
was an
drones, huh?
indecisive point because nobody was actually doing any real damage.
Oh,
Yo
yeah,
wasn't
they're
within
trying to catch
range,
him.
and Dez
He's out
was
running right now.
not was just shooting his
They're
guns, which
they're
don't
not
do really
showing up
anything.
on mine.
There they go. They
But
weren't
there
my
goes the
co-op driving. They were
drones
just
finally
slow-
caught
slow
up
boating.
with Yo.
Yeah,
And
that's
there
the
goes
bad
a
thing
lot
about
of the
drones. Sometimes
damage.
they can be finicky. Okay.
However,
Only
at this
AFK
point, Yo
for
finally realized that
minute.
he wasn't within
Put the boy in.
range. Once he actually got within range, he started doing lots of damage to Dez.
Oh, yo.
Unfortunately, he had that long period of time where he
Dez
wasn't
might
actually
actually go down on
doing
this
anything. So,
Well, he
you'll
doesn't
hear
have a
here
damage
of-
control, so.
Of Shadow in the background saying about how if he had actually approached right away, he probably would have won. But because Yo again doesn't have that damage control, apparently, it sort of causes lots of issues when it gets to whole damage.
I think if he would have been
Bill was
on
a
Dez
reasonably close
instead
fight,
of
it was
orbiting,
still
if he
a
would
good
have
one.
approached, he would have had him.
Yeah.
Next up is Krona versus Yo. You'll see my UI because I'm Krona. I'll be flying the Tormentor while Yo is flying his Kestrel. So here's the Warpin. We landed at similar times, but I was able to get a slightly earlier lock than him and start moving before him. Now you'll see here that Yo's rockets were able to pretty much take out my shields immediately, but because I'm not a shield tank, I'm perfectly fine with that. Now going through here, Yo does have some pretty substantial amount of DPS because of those rockets. However, the moment his shields are down, he's almost completely gone then, simply because he
rockets
has
just
no other
looking.
tank. But it's still a good close fight.
Oh, so close.
Oh, I thought you had that one.
Next up is Krona versus Tank. You'll see my UI because I'm Krona. I am flying the Tormentor while Tank is flying
no.
his Tristan.
Or 4-1.
So you're starting off. Here's the warp. We had a pretty similar
Who's
warp
this one?
time.
Dez and Krona?
Tank and Krona.
Just getting the lock off. This time I did not forget to deploy my drones. Now I pretty much completely obliterated his shields right there. And I started going through his armor, which is the same thing that happened with Dez as before. And it almost follows the exact same thing. I'm well ahead of him here, but as his drones get engaged, I start taking more and more damage. He has the better DPS. but we are still absolutely neck and neck through this whole thing. Unfortunately, right here at the end, he gets a few more damaging hits on me than I do on him, and I blow up, and he's at a sliver of health. Next up, we have Shadow versus Dez and Va versus Tank. Now, the reason why I have two here going on is because the first one with Shadow versus Dez, it actually takes so long, we start a second match while they're fighting, because it just goes on forever.
He's taking him
So here we
to
go.
the
Now,
sun
the
is
reason
what
why
he's
you didn't
doing.
see the warp here is because of some video issues with
Thanks,
recording
I'm
that
never
I
gonna be able to go get the loot.
But this is the very start of the
His
match.
rocket.
Now, starting off here, you can see, again, the typical issue of Shadow
funny
is
to
just a
watch.
constant, continuous stalemate. You'll see later on. So you have here, and again, they're moving so far out
Really
that
the
I'm actually
longest
having
fight
issues
ever.
keeping up with them because Shadow's being Shadow.
Damn it, Shadow, your orbital path is so huge.
So there you can see the drones trying to keep up with Shadow's
This is an
Condor.
orbital path.
Yep.
This is rock and roll.
So what Shadow's been doing here is that he's been actually
Slingshot.
trying to pick away at the
That's what
drones,
it's
Engage.
called.
while Dez is trying to get close enough to get
Hey,
lock
Dez,
on so he
do
can
some
start
fancy
shooting with
maneuvers
his
for the
guns again
camera
and keep his
since
drones
Shadow's
on
too
him.
far out.
Now Dez, what he's
Do a
trying to do is he's trying
somersault.
to keep his drones safe, so they'll be following him, he'll start doing damage, and then he'll pull his drones
Use the
back to
boost to
keep
get
them out
through.
of harm's way.
Do a barrel roll.
At this point, it's just a draw because neither one of them have each other scrammed.
So you go back within range,
Alright,
so now
Toss, you wanna go get
Shadow's
started?
focused now again on Dez. He's finally, his missiles are now starting to hit him.
Oh,
Not
don't say that yet.
However,
Don't say
Dez
that
is
yet.
actually
'Cause he's only
within
got
range
one
to
drone
lock
that's engaged me.
and actually shoot his
yeah.
guns a few times.
But you still have to get past his armor.
But yeah, but here's the thing now, because I've got him where I want him, he
Now,
can't
a funny
shoot me.
moment here is that
Because the only thing
there's
that shoots
actually
me
only
is that
one drone
and
engaged
I've
with
got
him.
him scrambled.
You can see it right
and
there.
he can't lock me. Oh no, he has me locked. Fuck.
Which
But
means
then
the
all of a
ground.
sudden, Dez gets the lock, and
fuck, fuck.
there goes the other drones.
Oh,
I don't even know
So
where you
it
guys are.
continues
in
on like
space.
this for quite a while now.
Are you like off grid?
Again, Shadow's starting to get
Oh, you're,
within
like,
that
flying- you're, like,
maximum
flying
look
through
at
us and
range,
shit.
which
You know what I
poses
would-
problems for me.
I don't think I have an answer to fix this problem, but I don't think it's fair.
So the drones are still an
Yeah,
issue
I
for
don't wanna
Shadow,
fix them.
since they can actually
Micro.
keep up with him reasonably.
No, no.
Typically, when he gets in the straight lines and they
A tactic
actually
that
activate
would-
their MWD, they get within range and they do actually do damage. As you can see there, he's in armor. But so
I don't
is
know.
Dez.
Doesn't shield the regenerate. It's just funny because he's an armor boat.
There you go.
And here, once again, this is a point in which Dez has actually lost lock. So, and he's also cycling through his drones, since I'm guessing that they probably have taken a little bit of damage.
Now you're thinking.
There goes the drones again. They've re-engaged. This is probably the farthest Shadow has gotten down into his hull structure. At least closest to being blown up. However, because of his speed and his tactics that he uses, he constantly is just prolonging the fight.
So if I warp off, does that mean it's a draw?
It means
No.
you don't get a kill and he doesn't get a kill.
So it's basically a draw. But not
But
really.
you can't move
So
up.
now he's going in back in to get close enough to re-engage with his missiles again on Dez. Dez, of course, he's doing a reasonable thing in that he's keeping
so
his
but seriously,
drones
Pat, you wanna go get
safe
started?
by actually having them in his drone bay.
Yeah, we can do that.
And only deploying them out when he actually has a lock and can officially
They might be going at this for a while.
engage them.
Well,
And there he's got the lock and he's
pretty
with the
simple
drones.
how this ends.
I make a mistake, and he fucks me up.
You warp out, or you close in and die.
Now here soon, you'll be seeing the
That's-
second match that will be starting here soon. This is the view of Des, because he's the only one that's actually within range for me to look at him.
What happened to Captain?
Says he couldn't
here,
fit
man.
up enough. Oh.
Nah.
Am I not on your overview?
No, are you not in fleet? Oh, there you are. You're in a Mollis.
So we're just having a continuous back and forth with this battle.
Dirty, nasty Mollis.
Alright, Tank, move yourself into the warp fleet.
And you can see there, both Des and Shadow have about the same amount of
Oh,
armor left.
okey-dokey.
Their shields almost go down
Just
instantly.
have a subsquad
Des's go
here.
down a bit quicker than Shadow's when they're
everybody
actually
want-
fully engaged.
Yeah, you can work with.
But otherwise, they're neck and neck through this whole battle right now. This is a point where they're just so far out that they
It's
can't
like flipping
actually do
channels on
anything
the
to each
game
other.
because the other. Nothing going on here. Let's check out
So
the
now
other
here
game.
we have the second
I'm having
battle
to
of
do
Tank
right now.
versus Va, or Tas. Va's going to be in his Executioner while Tank's in his Tristan. Now once again, Tas is able to almost completely take down the
Well, I
shields
mean,
of his opponent.
Shadow's using
fairly quickly.
strategy that against
And actually you can see here
drones and
that
it's working. So
even their
why
armor
not?
structure, their armor is going down almost at the exact same rate. Tank's is going down actually slightly quicker, which is quite surprising since
wow.
the Tristans have been dominating this whole tournament. And now Tank has actually entered structure first, and he's you know, been taken out. This is the first Tristan that's been taken out,
What the hell
which is very
happened?
surprising.
I don't know.
Most likely what happened there was just
Nice
simply
work, Taz.
Tas was able to get within good range, so all his shots were doing good amount of damage, and most likely
And back to
he
the
was
other
just
game.
stayed too quick for his drones to
Hi.
actually do too much significant damage on
You
armor.
guys are out of range.
Like they went off of your watch list?
Like,
Oh,
So now we're back to Shadow and Dez.
oh, fuck yeah!
Now at this point,
Actually,
Dez has just
Shadow's
completely
even
given
in
up.
charge of the
range where
He's
you
gotten
can't
tired,
lock
and
me.
he knows that it would take him a long time to get past him. So he just sits there and takes his fate. This was a very good fight between the two that lasted a long time. They should be proud of that fight. Thank you for watching the first Mercs of Vengeance tournament, that frig tournament that we've had. I know that there's some videos that I wasn't able to get simply because of camera recording issues that I had, personal issues. So I understand there were some things that didn't work. To end it off here, Shadow won the whole tournament. He got first. That's actually the only one that I can actually remember. I believe Dez or Tank got second, with Krona and Dez or Tank tying for third. So thanks for watching this. There will be another tournament again, currently in the works. So be looking for that. Fly safe and get the kills.